Good morning. I'm Courtney Bjorlin. I'm the co-editorial director of ASUG News, and I'm coming to you live from the show floor at the SAP Business Objects User Conference in Orlando. We'll be broadcasting from here all week, and today I'm thrilled to be joined by Michael Welter. He works for Claraview, and he has some expertise on BI4 migration that he's going to share with us about his session, Rumbling Down the Migration Highway. Thanks so much for joining us.
Good morning, it's great to see you.
Great to see you too. So you're going to identify some gotchas for people in your session today. And we'd like to talk about 3 of them because people remember things in threes, right?
Okay.
So the first one, what are we going to do with all these DESKI documents?
That's a good question. Well, of course, as you know, DESKI doesn't exist in 4.0, so all of those have to be converted to Webby documents if you're going to bring them in. So you've got some options. You've got the report conversion tool, which you can use to automatically convert them to Webby. But my experience is that that works about 75 to 80% of the time. So not all of them are going to work perfectly through that. But that only leaves you a few, hopefully, that you have to convert manually. But before you even start any of this, you want to make sure you go through and decide which ones you can abandon, because some of those reports just aren't needed anymore. So this is a good time to do some cleanup.
What's the best way to go about doing that cleanup? Is there any software you can buy? Well, there probably is. Or is it best to do it manually? How would you go about doing that?
Well, what I usually recommend is just using Auditor to look at what reports have been used in the last 13 months. And if you go back that far, you're pretty much going to capture anything that's needed anymore.
Okay.
And then you send that list out to your user community and have them check off the ones they use and send it back to you. And then you've got a definitive list of what you can put in scope of the migration project.
Great advice. Now also, there's some new monitoring capabilities in BI4. Can you talk about some of those and some of the gotchas to watch out for there?
Well, yeah, there's a new monitoring application in the CMC, and the purpose of the monitoring application is really to monitor the health of the system and see what is working well and what isn't. It has watches that will watch the servers and see what they're doing. It has probes that will actually run like workflows, like open a document, refresh it, save it, things like that. And these will happen automatically. You can schedule them to run. One of the biggest gotchas on the monitoring application is that there's no documentation on how to use it. There's a little bit in the administrator's guide on what it does, but not really how to use it. So really you're on your own. There's nothing to tell you how to use it. And it's the first version, so it's a little complex. I've spent a lot of time trying to figure it out. I've opened a lot of tickets saying, how do you do this?
Yeah.
And I've kind of figured it out. I've started writing it up on my blog, but it's been challenging.
We'll direct people to your blog, definitely. What's the web address?
It's michaelwelter.wordpress.com.
All right, for some documentation on how to use this tool. And then has SAP offered any further, how's the support going from that angle, and have they offered any further direction on when they're going to provide such documentation?
Nothing on when they're going to provide it.
Okay.
So my conversations with the tech support engineers has been sporadic. Some of them are able to help me, some of them don't know what they're doing with it, but okay. I'm getting closer to figuring it all out.
Okay, all right, so you're probably the expert on this thing right now. I know Greg Myers has a session too later on today about the monitoring capabilities, so we'll dig into that a little bit more there. Now, what about migrating personal documents? This can be a gotcha you've identified here.
The thing is, with personal documents, well, first of all, when you're migrating from a previous version to BI4, you're going to use a tool called the Upgrade Management tool.
Okay.
And the Upgrade Management tool, if you're doing public documents, you can select which folders you want, and it'll bring the folders and their contents. But with personal documents, it doesn't work that way. With personal documents, the assumption is you're going to bring all personal documents. But that's kind of a bad practice. You only want to bring the ones that are needed. So if you want to just select certain folders from personal documents, you can't. Because if you select just the folder, it migrates the folder only, but nothing in it. It's kind of useless.
Right.
So it really gives you a flat view of everything in the personal documents. And you have to know what's in the folders because you have to select them. So what we figured out is that we have each user create a folder for migration in their personal documents.
Okay.
Then we move that into a public folder, then we migrate it over, and then move it back into their personal folders.
Okay.
And it's kind of a convoluted process, but it works.
That's the important thing.
Yes.
Well, if you'd like to learn more about these gotchas and some great advice on rumbling down the migration highway, Michael's session will be today at 4:30 in Oceanic 7. Thank you so much for joining us.
You're welcome.
Great
Thank you.
advice. And to catch all of our coverage from this conference, visit asugonline.com. All these videos will be logged on our YouTube channel. That's ASUG TV. And thanks for joining us.